While improving service delivery at local government level is going to take centre stage today when President Ramaphosa addresses the Mayors' Conference. The South African Local Government Association, or SALGA if you prefer the acronym, is hosting the conference down in East London. The latest Auditor General's report revealing a culture of unaccountability in municipalities. So Aviwe Mtila, eNCA senior reporter, covering this for us. And it's no real surprise just how bad the numbers are for accountability in municipalities, but I think it's all going to be laid bare later today, isn't it, Aviwe? Good morning.
Certainly will be, Gareth. In fact, I remember just earlier on this year speaking to Tsakana Maluleka, the Auditor General, who gave an indication of how badly the municipalities were performing. She did say that out of the 257 municipalities across the country, when she first went knocking at their doors, only 62 gave credible financial statements. That means a shocking 75% wouldn't be able to account for what they were doing with their finances the first time the AG went knocking at their doors. She painted a picture of how weak the municipalities had been over the last 5 years, and saying that in this current administration, many questions need to be asked, and those questions need to be answered. Mentioning that over 20 billion rand had been spent irregularly, and that's just a tip of the iceberg. As she really said, we can't really account for the exact amount that's been spent irregularly. In fact, I want to speak now to the CEO of the South African Local Government Association, and that's Lance Joel. Thank you for joining us at eNCA. But really, we're speaking here of mayors that aren't performing at their various municipalities. What needs to be done in order to get things straight? Is this merely another talk shop?
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for having us. Well, this is not a talk shop. You will recall that we had elections in November last year. So we have newly elected mayors. So we are bringing them together, and it's a perfect opportunity to have a conversation around a range of things, including what you are mentioning, the audit outcomes. You will recall they are inheriting the audit outcomes as new mayors. It is not as a consequence of the work they have done yet. They are still to be judged on the current work that they are doing. But it's an opportunity to reflect. Secondly, share best practices, and we will have the Auditor General as part of the conversation today so that we can come up with solutions and leave these mayors better off as they return back to their municipalities to introduce improvements generally and across the board on areas of their responsibility.
What are those solutions? We need to ask pointedly, what solutions are we realistically going to come out from this Council of Mayors and meeting? Because realistically, people are suffering on the ground while these politicians that are put in those mayoral positions are looking out for number one.
Well, we are not coming with a set of solutions already prepared. It's a day, 2 days of conversation, looking what the issues are, reflecting on those issues and putting solutions on the table. So we are not having a perfect answer pre the conversation. The conversation must unfold. We must remind ourselves of what the issues are and come up with the constructive means to respond to those issues. So it's unfortunate if there's a thinking that solutions have been prepared and we are bringing solutions into the conversation. To the contrary, the solutions will come out as the conversation unfolds, and mayors will go back to the respective municipalities and implement and introduce new measures to respond to what the concerns are across the board in the respective municipalities.
In the last year alone, 20 billion rand spent irregularly. You are CEO of SALGA. Shouldn't we be seeing criminal convictions of these mayors who can't account for what they do with the monies of you and I?
Well, that's part of the conversation today. Two things must happen. We must ensure that mayors, as the political heads of the municipalities, but secondly, who lead the oversight over the administration, must ensure that there's accountability and that there's consequence management, so that they must deal with the ills that are finding expression in their respective municipalities. So part of it is taking ownership and ensuring that we act against those that are found to be on the wrong side of the law.
And you are SALGA. How do you feel when the AG, for example, says that in the last year there's been no improvement, no transparency, lack of performance or any accountability? How does that sit with you as an association?
Well, it is a concern, and I think it is not just a concern for SALGA. Across the board, those that have a responsibility to support local government, like ourselves, must take ownership as well We must take part of the blame and ensure that we are part of the solution. And we must think constructively about how we are going to respond to the problems. But decisiveness is at the bottom of it all. We need to ensure that there's, as you're saying, there's action and that people are held accountable. So we are concerned. But we are looking at measures to ensure that indeed people are held accountable.
Okay, thank you very much. Lance Joel is the CEO of SALGA, saying that he is concerned by, of course, the Auditor General's report, mentioning that over 20 billion rand has been spent irregularly over the last year. In fact, she says there's been no improvement in the current administration and over the last 5 years, where there's been no accountability, lack of transparency, and a lack of performance in general.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about transparency a little bit later when we actually hear about the Road Accident Fund and the Auditor General over audit outcomes as well. So the Auditor General report, very wide-ranging. For the moment, Aviwe Mtila, thank you very much indeed. We'll hear later in the day, I'm sure, once the President addresses this particular delegation.